Hi there, I'm Kylie Mowbray-Allen from Hello Media.
And I'm Jenny Walk from Elephant in the Room Consulting, and you're tuning into Bite-Sized Business Life Podcast, the show that helps business owners get clarity and insight to grow their dream business.
Whether you're launching, ready to scale, or figuring out what's next, we discuss the nitty-gritty, the hard bits, the opportunities, and the behind the scenes, and share how we've grown our own companies and helped others do the same.
We're glad you're here. Small business owners get clarity and insight to grow their dream business. Good morning, Kylie. How are you today?
Jenny, I'm so pumped. I've just finished 3 days at the Byron Writers Festival, and I'd just like to do a big shout out for them because it was a absolutely incredible experience in terms of sustainability. And we're talking about business for good, right? And sustainability and inclusivity and all of that. So I thought, what a great opportunity to say that all of the food vendors all had reusable cups, reusable plates, reusable cutlery, and people came around with trolleys and collecting them all. So they were all going into one place, and it was extraordinary. There was not one bit of waste going on. It was amazing.
It's so good. I think that kind of idea of disposable everything that came in the 80s and 90s, I would love to see that there's a shift away from that disposable kind of way of doing business. I was working, one of my colleagues or clients that I work with, colleagues works for Suncorp, and up in their Suncorp office, they actually have metal cups that they serve in the cafe inside their building. And so they have when you basically take the metal cup, you get your tea or coffee in the cafe, the metal cup, and then you pop it back into and back for them so they can actually, even the takeaway cups, it's a so no one in the area in the building has actual paper takeaway cups. They're a metal takeaway cups, and I love that. And then you just return them and they recycle them and they wash them like everything else. So they're reducing their waste significantly because there's no coffee cup waste. And it's one of the biggest, issues that we see at the moment is coffee cups. Like I'm sitting at a cafe we're sitting at a cafe in a shopping centre now, and I'm on a table that had someone who's eating, but they wanted their coffee in takeaway cups. I'm like, we're sitting in a cafe, but they still want, but it stays hotter and it's better for me. And it's just like, but now they're the waste of that. So I'm so happy to hear that the Byron Writers Festival has actually shifted away from that disposable nature.
An entire festival. It was extraordinary. The other thing I wanted to point out or mention, again, to do with our topic today, is that they had signers at the front of a number of the sessions. So, and then the signers would switch over every 15 minutes doing their thing. And so that's super awesome. And then the other thing is they had signs up with an app with a QR code that you'd scan. So for people like me, hearing impaired, that wear hearing aids, then I would just open up that app and then the speakers would go directly into my hearing aids.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, it made for a very joyful and very inclusive experience.
And it's not hard to do that. And that's a great example of it. You don't have to have, that's a very simple app. People have created this technology to allow people and enable people who have hearing disabilities, who may have sight disabilities, to be able to be part of society. And I think when businesses are choosing not to actually include that in the way they do business, they're missing out on such a huge amount of not only customers or clients, but also that goodwill that you create with your community when you actually create your business to be inclusive, whether it is like doing braille or sign or having, for people hearing impaired. So it seems silly that people are not doing it these days.
Absolutely. So interestingly enough, Brisbane is actually one of the better cities in Australia for accessibility and inclusivity. And that's because many, many years ago now, so when my husband's accident was 17 years ago, and I think it was around 5 years prior to that the councillors, they gave each person a disability for a day. So everybody in city council was either had to be in a wheelchair for a day, had to be hearing impaired, or whatever that they gave it to them, and they got them to go around the city and experience it from other people's perspectives. And so that then started this incredible change going on. So yeah, there you go.
I did not know that. And that is what a phenomenal activity to do. That's what a brilliant. I mean, it's a great city. It is incredibly easy to get around here. I have to say, it's one of the easiest cities to get around from transport and otherwise. But we're not talking just inclusivity today, are we? We're talking about sort of sustainability for good and how we bring all of that together in a business, and why would we want to do that? So we sort of just started to talk a little bit about that now, but why is sustainability so important for businesses these days, Kylie?
Firstly, I really strongly feel that it's not a case of should we, it's how well are we doing it already, and looking at what else can we do, because we're actually cutting out an extraordinary amount of people if we're not making it more inclusive. But also in terms of sustainability for the environment, it's a no-brainer. We've got to do our bit where we can. In terms of, during the Writers Festival, I went to lots of with Indigenous writers. And so lots of different viewpoints, lots of thinking about the big issues and the little issues and all the issues in between. And so it was such a great reminder for me after our talk a few weeks ago. And hearing viewpoints and listening and being open to learning how we can do it better. So there's just so many aspects around sustainability and building a business for good. And to me, it just makes absolutely no sense why we wouldn't want to be doing business better.
And I think on that is when we're talking about sustainability, it's not just about sustainability in terms of environment or people. It's actually about longevity of your business as well. If you're managing your business more efficiently and effectively, and whether it's recycling or paperless offices or whatever it might be, those little steps actually make it easier for you to run your business in a more flexible and fluid way. Like if you've got an office dependent on paper still, that means you have to run your office out of that one building, because you're not going to be carrying all your paper with you. So if you just do a simple thing by saying we're going to actually become a paperless office and not print anymore and just email and use iPads or digital tools instead, that means you can run your business from anywhere in the world. So even those decisions are no longer just about whether it's environmental or social responsibility. It's actually also about the sustainability and the flexibility that you can bring to your business by making those decisions. And I think that's what we sometimes forget is, even if it is an e-reader or making sure that your website's accessible, like you spoke to us about last week, that's for you as well. At some point, we're all going to, our eyesight's going to go, or our hearing gets a little, poorer as we get older. And so if you're building your business to be accessible for everyone else, it means you're also building it for yourself in the future. And so it's not just an external perspective, it's something for you and your team as well. So the sustainability for folk and good for me is not just corporate social responsibility from an external perspective. It's how we become good business owners and good operators, so we can become more efficient, more effective, lower costs, and be flexible to the way that we work.
I agree. And it also gives us a viewpoint. It gives us a little bit of idea of what's behind the business, what's behind the scenes in terms of the owners of the business. How do you feel about sustainability, etc.? So we always talk about how important it is to build our brand online in terms of our personal brand. That's a golden opportunity to do that. Talk about how we feel about it and what we're doing in creating a better business for good.
Yeah, and I think when we're talking business for good, so we've talked accessibility, we've talked about B Corp, First Nations engagement, social procurement, buying local, all those aspects. And there's nothing that's not available to any company, whether you're large or small. So you don't have to be a Coles or a Myer or Kmart to make changes that are going to impact the community. It could be as simple as you said, making your website inclusive or accessible. It could be going paperless. It could be making a decision to actually work with a charity and give back to the community and create a circular economy in the space, or buying local. Yes, your product might be slightly higher if you have to buy the source locally, because the cost in Australia is higher than the purchasing from overseas. But if that's part of your value proposition for your customers and your clients, then they're going to pay that little bit extra because of that value proposition. And wow, this is made in Australia, or this is made locally. I want to be part of that process. I want to be part of that community. And so I think we have to really think bigger than just the typical things that we see large organizations doing, and decide what aligns with us and what fits with our brand. As you said, it's a branding opportunity. What fits with our value proposition as a company, and how does that attract clients, but also how does it attract staff to your business as you grow?
Absolutely. And Jenni, when we look at, say, you're a product-based business, or let's say you're wanting to get product made for a service-based business for merch or whatever, even looking at what can I do that's better, whether that's, yes, we still might need to go offshore for some of that because there's lots of reasons, right? I've got clients that literally could not manufacture in Australia, even if they wanted to, with the type of products that they do. However, there's other things that you can do. You could do your printing locally. You could do your packaging locally. You could do your warehousing locally. Like, there's a lot of different things. Then we could also look at supporting Indigenous businesses. We could look at, if we're going to get something printed, let's look at what our options are. We don't need to go to Vistaprint necessarily. We can actually go, what's local, who's around, who can I support, and then do a shout out for them on social media.
And I think that's that piece, isn't it? Is what's going to work for your business. Every small change that we make reduces carbon footprint, reduces our impact on the environment, increases our sustainability as a business. But as you say, you have to choose what's going to work for your business. So you look at many of the companies that are around us in the world these days. As a B Corp, consultant, I'm very passionate about B Corp businesses, and some of the businesses that are coming up these days that I didn't realize. I was given a beautiful bottle of Piper last week by a friend of mine, and Piper Heidsieck, champagne brand, global champagne brand, has become a B Corp certified company. So that's a big company that you wouldn't expect, but they've decided that the way they manufacture and how they operate, they want it to be done in a sustainable way. So they've chosen B Corp accreditation. If you're in a printing industry, you can still do the right thing by being EcoVadis accredited or being a certified green printer. So there's lots of different ways that align with your industry. So it's not just about saying I have to do everything that everyone else is doing. It's about saying what's going to work, what is going to work for me and my business. And it doesn't just have to be First Nations, or, it could be social enterprise. It could be, there's a lot of businesses, a lot of community organizations that work with people with intellectual or physical disabilities that provide them jobs, whether it's packing or printing or, or stock taking, all those things. They can come in and they have a ready workforce of people who want to work but just can't work full time because of their circumstances. So there's lots of ways that you can tap in to actually get your business running and get the things that you need done without the traditional model. So it's really just about thinking differently about your problems, saying what is a different way I can solve it that's going to actually be sustainable for my business as well.
I think you've just said that so beautifully. So if we put out a challenge today, what's one thing that you can make a change of in your business to actually make your business better, doing it better for good, but also better for the future? So, Jenni, what's one thing that you'd like to do?
So for me, one thing that I think for us, we're doing our B Corp certification. We've been supporting businesses do B Corp certification for some years, so we're actually finally submitting our own B Corp certification, which we've been sitting at over 80 points for many months actually. But the one thing for me is actually we've just done the paperless office piece. So we've been trying very hard to go paperless for some time. I have my digital notebook. In fact, I'm trying to get all my clients to buy digital notebooks. #Remarkable too, because I love my Remarkable too, and keep telling everyone they should get one. But for us, we're only looking at where do we actually need to print. So we don't do business cards anymore. We've gone to a digital business card. You introduced us to Hi Hello. We've actually got an NFT metal card now. We're also shifting to even when we do our workshops, there's a choice people can actually choose when they're signing up. Do they want to get a physical hard copy workbook, or do they want a digital copy of the workbook? So they get to choose that. So we're actually inviting our clients and customers to be part of that process with us and say, how would you like to receive your information? And so that for us is a big shift, because we're traditional. I love paper. I'm a tactile girl. But for us, I recognize that we need to start doing that with the volume of workshops that we're doing and the way that we're delivering. If we can shift away from just, printing 20 or 30 or 40% of the paper that we were printing on last year, that's going to have an impact. So that's what we're doing.
Brilliant. I love it. We're doing it from a digital standpoint. So I've listened to a few podcasts over the last year, and I'm not able to speak intelligently on the topic because I don't know enough about it, but I've been fascinated while I've been learning, and that is about even choosing where your provider is for your internet is actually making a big difference in terms of the problems in the world. So we're trying to bring as much nearer that we possibly can. I did not say that at all well, but that's been one of the big things, is about around the digital footprint, and also, of course, still working on making our website more accessible and our content more accessible.
And I think that digital footprint piece is really important. I mean, we deal with a lot of government clients. So our web hoster is, we've chosen, you introduced us to XY Zulu, but we like the fact that they're a local provider, they do local service, but also the data is housed in Australia. So, we think data has to be in the cloud, but at some point it has to be physically somewhere. So it's not just in the cloud, it has to be physically held somewhere. So it's important for our clients to know that our data is also locally based. So I really love that that's one that you've done the shout out, because again, that's about sustainability long term. And digital footprint is important. It's one of those other pieces, and maybe that's a conversation we'll have in the future, is to talk about how we minimize our digital footprint.
Absolutely. And while you did a shout out there for XY Zulu, I want to reiterate that as well, is that what I love about Brad is that he's really into privacy and security. So I feel like not only are we doing it within Australia, which is, better on many, many fronts, but also the fact that we're choosing to do it locally, but also the fact that we know that what we're doing with him is safe and secure.
100%. I completely agree. So I think the key piece around when we're talking about sustainability in business is to look at the way that you operate and look at ways that you can either bring your product, bring your delivery, whether it's your operations or your staff or your equipment that you use or the way that you print or your cost of goods or whatever it might be, find a way that's going to be more sustainable and effective and cost effective for you. And that might be by locally using increasing your supply chain diversity, whether it's First Nations, B Corp, social enterprise, or female-led businesses, or socially disadvantaged businesses, or if it's about making sure your website's accessible. It's looking at what sustainability means for you and your customers and your clients, and aligning those two, because it still needs to align with your business strategy. It still needs to be something that works for you, because if it's not only going to be not sustainable for your business, it's not going to have the sustainability impact that you really want it to.
100%. Love it. I've loved this series on a better business for good.
It's been so much fun. So we're going to catch up again next week. I'm very excited about, I'm not sure what we're talking about next week, but we'll always have something fabulous to talk about. But for those who are interested in wanting to learn more about sustainability or how to do your business for good, reach out to Kylie, definitely in relation to your digital and your accessibility on your website. And if you want to talk to us about B Corp certification, or even just looking at the way that you run your operations more effectively so that you can really start looking at your ESG and your CSG output, reach out to us. Kylie, how do people get in contact with you?
Just head to our website, hellomedia.team. That's it. And you can find how to get in touch. And it'd be great to connect. What about you, Jenni?
For us as well, elephantintheroomau.com is our website. So head to there and you'll find our socials, you'll find our blogs, but you'll also find, again, how you can get in contact with us and have a chat.
Fantastic. Well, happy travels to you today. Off to your next call. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Off to cold Canberra. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of Bite Size Business Life podcast. It's been great having you with us today. Be sure to subscribe and follow us so you don't miss any future episodes. We look forward to seeing you next time. Stay safe. Have a great week.
Cool.
Bye,
Thanks
Kylie.
so much. Bye-bye.